What's up, boys? Still getting used to YouTube. I took a little break, probably like a week-long break. We got a ton of spoilers today. We got some NASA support. We got like Mbessa support. We got some decrees to go over. J signature, Mel signature. We got a ton of stuff to go over. Probably like 60 cards or so. So we're just gonna catch up in maybe this video. It could be two videos, but definitely gonna catch up. Here we go. Okay, first up we have J Sig, J signature spell. Acceleration gate. Ready up to 4 units, gear and or runes for 3 energy, 1 power. This card is busted. Definitely a really good card. I was hoping for more of a Jace gear, a signature gear like his hammer or something. But yeah, this will have to do. I don't understand why they didn't make it a gear. That would have really just if something like I don't know 1 energy make a 4 might unit. I don't know something like that just to like keep it going so they could make use of the Jace legend. But ready up to 4 units, gear and or runes, so you can basically this is free. You can net 1 rune, I guess, if you wanted to, or lots of stuff you could do with this. Basically, this is just busted. It's gonna see 3 of in every single Jace deck, I believe. Big time fan of Jace. I used to play him back in like the League of Legends days. You just used to blast him with the that Q button and just yeah. Anyways, uh, yeah, this card is OP. Definitely gonna see some play. Next up, we have Affectionate Poro, 3 energy, 3 might. When a combat that I was in ends, if I haven't been dealt damage this turn, draw 1. This is an Akali card, I think. Akali Legend can really take advantage of this. You move it up and you just move it right back and you draw 1 because it was in a combat and it wasn't dealt any damage unless he does some sort of action spell, maybe. But yeah, or reaction spell, I suppose. But yeah, this card is definitely an Akali card. Not as good as Stelcorn Herder, I don't think. Stelcorn, you draw 2 compared to the 1, but definitely could maybe see some play in an Akali deck. Not maybe even in Shen. Um, I guess if things had tank and it wasn't dealt damage, then maybe you could draw 1. But yeah, Akali or Shen definitely for sure. Here is Green Akali, Akali Silent, 4 energy, 1 green power for 4 might. I can't be chosen by enemy spells and abilities unless I'm in combat. So put it on your base immediately. It's a ruin runner. I mean, busted. When I move to a battlefield, give me +2 might this turn. So basically, if you have a Kali Legend empowered, you can move it in from base. It gets +2 might, so it's a 6 might. Move it back, ready it, and then move it back in. It's an 8 might unit. Uh, pretty good if Kali's empowered. Otherwise, it's pretty statted, I suppose, because it's getting 2 might. It's not very good on defense, but with a Kali, hopefully you're just moving it back and keeping it in the base because you don't want it to get killed by anything. Otherwise, it's a pretty good unit. I could see this or Red Akali. Obviously, one of the two is going to be played in the Akali decks. It's really they're pretty close in power level, I'd say. Pretty close. This one's definitely good against more of a control matchup if you can keep it in the base. Whereas Red Akali is more of an aggressive type of card. But yeah, both are gonna definitely see some play. Next, we have a really good card. This should have been Mel champion unit, I think. 4 energy, 4 might. Applied researchers empower 3. While empowered, your spells cost 1 power, 1 energy, and 1 power less, up to a minimum of 1 energy. This card is actually really good, especially if you have extra runes lying around and you don't have any spells to play for the turn. I mean, imagine this with Vex Cheerless. I mean, you're just reducing the cost of every card you have by a crazy amount, like just crazy. Like you're gonna get so ahead on runes and so ahead on cards that I don't think there's gonna be much counterplay. Especially if you're like -2 after the applied researchers with Mel Legend. So it's automatically like It's pretty basically like 2 energy because you're gonna get -2 on one of his guys. Because and that's pretty much the equivalent of like a 1 energy play. And then the next spell you play is already 1 energy less or 1 power less, which is equal to maybe like 1 or even 2 energy. I mean, the card pays for itself pretty quick, especially in Mel. You could see some play in Diana maybe, but I think Mel can really take advantage of this card. Next, we have some NASA support. Astral Heron, 7 energy for 7 might, so pretty decent stats. It says when you play your first card each turn, if I'm at a battlefield, your next card costs 2 energy, 2 power less. They actually errated this card, so it's only this turn that it triggers. You can't do it in multiple turns. That would be just busted. I mean, but when you play this, if you have Nasus Legend, it's basically 5 runes instead of 7 because it's a 7 energy unit, and you get to ready 2 runes if you exhaust the Nasus Legend. And then with after you play the Astral Heron, your next spell costs 2 energy, 2 power less. So you could play a 4 energy, 2 power card, whatever that might be. Essentially, after playing this, if you have 7 runes, it's honestly this card is definitely going to see some play in Nasus and maybe even other decks too because it's pretty statted. And if you're playing things like Legion, where you have multiple cards being played, then this is definitely going to reduce the costs of the next card and just allow you to just play out your whole hand and just like fill the battlefields with your units. Yeah, definitely going to see some play in Nasus. Could see some play in some other decks as well. Next, we're moving on to the body. These are all alphabetical, by the way. It's just how I ordered them. 3 energy, 1 orange power for a 4 might unit. Brutal Hunter, empower 3. It says if empowered, I have +2 might and ganking. Not the best card in the world. Probably it's an Mbessa card. Because when you empower it, you can ready it also. So you basically take a battlefield with this, empower it, ready it, and then get ganking, move over, and it's a 6 might swing into the other battlefield. Overall, it's not a bad card. Pretty much only gonna see play in Mbessa if at all. Um, but yeah, pretty average card, I would say. Next, we have an interesting card, very interesting card. It's called Cataclysmic Duel. 8 energy, 3 body power. Each player chooses a unit they control, kill the rest. Okay, so you don't get to choose their unit, they don't get to choose your unit, but if they play a lot of swarm type of decks, then this is definitely going to hurt them significantly. Not really sure what type of deck you would bring this in for, maybe from the sideboard or main deck this in, unless you have like I don't know. I honestly have no idea. It's kind of just like a little board wipe in body instead of like the ruination in order. Really not that bad. It's very expensive. Um, can't really see it seeing too much play, I guess, unless you're sideboarding in against swarm decks where they just want to load up the battlefields in their base. Um, it's a pretty interesting card, though. I'm glad they included this in Vendetta, because there could be some scenarios where this is really good, where they have a one big unit and all the other units are small, but they add up to be significant, and then you just take out their all the small units and keep your one big unit. Like maybe this could see play in Aurora or something. If like you're after your first Aurora, if you still have 8 runes, you might be able to just kill their whole board except for one, and then Elder Dragon and kill their last guy or something. I'm really not sure where this would see play, but it's very interesting. It's a cool card. I'm glad we have it. Next, we have Clairvoyance, Mind Spell, 7 energy, and it's a reaction. It says predict 5 and then draw 2. So really, it's not the best unless you have like some like flow or something. If it had flow, I think this card would be a lot better. Um, Otherwise, I mean, really, 7 energy to draw 2 is pretty bad. Not gonna lie. Don't know where you'd want, unless you're running a Nocturne or something, can't, where you would just like predict it and then play it straight from the top of your deck. Can't really see where this would see much play. Yeah. Next, we have a Zed spell, 2 energy in Fury. It's an action that says deal 2 damage to a unit at a battlefield. This deals 1 bonus damage for each card with this name in your trash. Honestly, this card is pretty bad. I mean, 4 damage for 2 energy is good, but I mean, it's still not amazing because of the costs you have to do in order to get this like thing actually rolling. Yeah, this probably won't see too much play, I don't think. Next, we have another Aurora card, I think. Corrupted Dragon, 10 energy, 10 might. 10 energy and 2 body power for 10 might. Corrupted Dragon. If your score is not within 3 points of the victory score, I enter ready. When I attack, you may move any number of enemy units here, each with 5 might or less, to its base. So pretty good for maybe finishing off the game. If you play this from your hand, you can just slap it onto your base, move it right up into a battlefield, and move all the units back. Um, Pretty good with Elder Dragon. Maybe if you stack in units at one battlefield, you can move one back and then Elder Dragon and take out one at the base and one at the battlefield. This is more of an Aurora card or Dragon. It's also a Dragon card, so if you're getting some discounts with some other dragons, and this card's cheaper, it might be worth playing. But yeah, overall, just another Dragon card or Aurora card. Can't really see this being played too much else. Next, we have a calm card, 1 energy, 1 power, um, counter spell. It has reaction, and it says counter a spell if an opponent has played another spell this turn. Can't really see this card seeing too much play, unless it's like a battle between the counters or something like that, and it's a sideboard card. If it said has played another card this turn, I think this card would be really good. But it just says another spell, so there have to be a very spell heavy deck for this to even take advantage. Um, yeah, can't really see this being played that much. We have one of the decrees. We're about to go through a few decrees here because this is alphabetical. 1 energy, 1 power, chaos decree of discord. Return any number of enemy order units with total might 5 or less to their owner's hands. This card is very good against order if you're playing purple decks. Definitely a sideboard card. Will see some play if they have a particular weakness against the order cards. I mean, it just counters LeBlanc a little bit. Actually, it doesn't counter LeBlanc that much, even though it does counter LeBlanc because it's not reaction or action of any sort. So it's just regular spell speed. But definitely could see some play, some counterplay to some order decks as a chaos enjoyer. Next, we have the Green Decree, Decree of Focus, 1 energy reaction. It says choose a friendly unit that's in combat with an enemy Fury unit, or that's being chosen by an enemy Fury spell. Give it +4 might this turn. Um, I don't think green has that much trouble against Fury in general. Because you have like Defy that can just defy any spell that they have. Maybe their units are a little bit bigger, and you want to give a unit +4. I can't. This is definitely another sideboard card. All the decrees are sideboard cards. Yeah. Next we have Decree of Rage. 1 energy, 1 power. It's a Fury card. It says it has action. It says this can't be countered. Deal 4 to an enemy comm unit. Really not that a significant sideboard card. Maybe I don't think red has too much trouble against green. I just said green doesn't have too much trouble against red, but maybe you would side this in if your deck particularly struggles against calm decks. Yeah, can't be countered is nice, but really it's not. If it was just 1 energy and no power cost, I think this might seem a lot more play, but pretty average uh, cost, I think, to play this card to deal 4 damage. I mean, Void Seeker is 3 and 1, 3 energy, 1 power for 4 damage, and you draw a card. I mean, 2 extra energy to draw a card, but has the potential to be countered. Like it's just not that good. It's sideboard card maybe. This card just came out today, July 16th. Decree of Strength, I believe, is what it's called, and it says choose. It's one energy, one body energy, or one, yeah, one energy. Choose an opponent, have them reveal their hand, and choose a card with the calm trait. Have them discard that card. The aura is actually calm, so it's orange on blue hate. This card is pretty good, actually. Just to reveal her hand for one energy is pretty significant. Especially in, I mean, like sabotage might be a little bit better, but if you're really going for hand hate, this is definitely going to be an include in those type of decks. Next, we have the Order Decree, 2 energy, 1 power. It says kill an enemy chaos unit or gear. There's not too many chaos gear. I don't think that's actually significant, but killing a chaos unit is definitely significant. I mean, you don't really win chaos decks with the units. Is the only thing, but maybe I guess you can't even kill a Baron. Yeah, this card is a sideboard card, but it's not going to be too significant unless they have some massive like mind splitter or something that they just played. But again, you'd have to draw it because they'll just take it right out of your hand. I mean, at least you can kill things in the base. Really not that significant, I don't think, but could see some play as a sideboard card. We'll see. Next, we have Disciple of Shen, an order card. 2 energy, 1 might, but it has hidden. It says, I have shield 3 while I'm at a battlefield with exactly 1 other unit you control. This card is good in a Shen deck, I think. You just play a unit and then hide this for 1 energy, or 1 power, I mean, and then flip it when they attack, and you're pretty much guaranteed to hold. Because it's 1 power for a 4 might unit at the time, plus your other unit. So yeah, I mean, it's a pretty okay card. We'll see some play in some Shen decks, I would imagine, but that's pretty much it. I mean, it's actually not that bad in other decks too if you have a hold strategy, but Shen's the main order hold strategy, I believe. So yeah. Next, we have an interesting card, Dragon Form, an order card for 3 energy. It says choose a unit. Its base might becomes 5 this turn with flow 3, so you can play it twice. If this said just might and not base might, this would be a lot better, I think. But base might means they still get their buffs. Pretty okay card. At least it's versatile, where you can just take some massive unit that they have and make it a 5 might for the most part, unless they have any buffs. Not sure if this card's going to see too much play. Yeah, if it had reaction, then obviously this would see a lot more play. But I mean, it's just regular spell speed. So yeah. Next, we have some Shen hate in the Fury section of the game here. Dune Surfer, 3 energy for 3 might. It says you ignore tank while assigning combat damage here. Maybe a sideboard card against Shen, but I can't see Shen actually being that good yet. I mean, even I've seen a signature spell, it's not even that good. I mean, we'll see if this card even sees some play. Three energy for 3 might is pretty standard. Ignoring tank is okay, I suppose. This card probably won't see too much play. Next, we have an interesting card that might see some play, maybe in a Renekton deck or a Dragon deck. 8 energy for 8 might, which is pretty decent stats, and it has Accelerate, Eclipse, Dragon. When I move, if you control 4 or fewer runes, draw 1. So you can't really abuse any sort of movement abilities because you only have 4 runes to draw it. I mean, Akali can probably use it if you have 4 runes, if you just went down on runes somehow. But I can see this being played in Renekton, where the kind of strategy is to have like 4 or fewer runes. But yeah, drawing a card and having Accelerate is pretty okay. You could see some play in a Dragon deck potentially, where you're getting some discounts on because it has the Dragon tag. But yeah, pretty interesting card overall. At least it gets you back in the game a little bit if you have 4 or fewer runes by drawing a card. But yeah, we'll see if it sees some play. Here we have an interesting card. 3 energy, 3 might, so already decent stats. Escaped Greyback in the Order class of cards. It says Empower, kill a friendly unit, and while empowered, I have +2. I think this could definitely see some play in some Victor decks because for 1 energy, you can just kill a recruit, and then it has +2. So I mean, automatically, it's a net positive play. Uh, this could also maybe see some play in Rek'Sai, where the recruits are just kind of laying around, not doing too much, and then you play this, kill it, and then it's a 5 might unit. Yeah, this is an interesting card for sure. Could definitely help those go wide strategies where you just have recruits lying around, and you can just kill one and give this unit +2. Pretty interesting card though. Yeah. Next, we have a calm card. 5 energy, 5 might, esteemed Hierophant. While you control 7 or more runes, prevent all damage that enemy spells and abilities would deal to me. Kind of a Nasus type of card where you want to have 7 or more runes, but really the stats aren't good. If it was a 7 might for 7 energy, maybe might see it having a little bit more play in Nasus. Prevent all damage that spells and abilities would deal is okay. If it said more of a ruin runner type of effect, then where it couldn't be targeted at all, might see a little bit more play, but can't really see this doing too much as it is. Yeah. Okay, next up we have a pretty interesting card, an order card, 2 energy, 1 power for 3 might. Fallen Feline. It's a cat. It says when you play me, name a spell. While I'm at a battlefield, opponents can't play spells with that name. So it is pretty interesting if you can get a look at their hand, maybe with a sabotage or a scuttle crab or something. You can really shut them down. Not sure how much play this is going to get unless you're trying to hit a signature spell on some champion, some legend or something. It's an interesting card though, very interesting card. I think it might see a little bit of play in like control matchups or something. Yeah. Next up, we got Field Musicians. 4 energy for 3 might, but it says when you play me, give a unit +3 this turn. Really not bad. Six might on the field the turn you play it, which isn't bad. Well, it's actually good for 4 energy, but yeah, we'll see if this sees any play, but I can't imagine it's going to be that incredible. Maybe for like niche decks where you're trying to push a battlefield at the end or something, and you don't have much, you don't have a discipline or something. Um, it's a decent turn 2 play. I mean, 4 energy for 3 might on turn 2 is not incredible, but um, yeah, I can't. It's an average card. I'd say average. Next up, we have a really interesting card. 5 energy gear, chaos gear. When you play this card or at the start of your beginning phase, burn 1. When you burn a unit this way, do this. Give a friendly unit +might equal to the burn card's might this turn. So really interesting card. Um, it is kind of a way if you're running a lot of units, I could see this card getting a lot of value. I can't really see this being a staple in too many decks. Maybe a high unit Z deck or something like that, where you're really trying to burn and get those shadow clones some value, and this will also give you some value while you're trying to get those shadow clones in. So basically, you can burn the unit, give the might to a shadow clone, and then banish the shadow clone from your trash, and then go in with 4+2 might or something like that just for the turn. Really not bad. I don't know if it's going to see too much play. It's a little bit expensive, but it is a persistent effect, so we'll see. We'll see how it actually turns out. Yeah, can't get a good read on this one. So now we have another body unit here. 6 energy, 5 might, which isn't great, but it's called Fretful Feline. It says when I become ready, give me +2 this turn. So kind of combos with Mbessa. If you're empowering things and getting other things ready, you give it another +2. It becomes a 9 might. Every turn after the turn you play it, it's a 7 might, which for 6 isn't bad. 6 energy, it's not bad. I mean, it's really not a bad unit. I think maybe you want something else for 6 energy in your deck, but this one's really not bad for like pre-release. Like yeah, it's not terrible. It's really not bad. So here we have a really interesting card, Frostcoat Mother. It's a calm, 3 energy for 3 might, which already isn't bad. Good turn one play. And power 12. This ability costs 1 less for each rune you control, and then while empowered, it has 3 might, plus 3 might. So 3 energy for 6 might with empowered if you have 12 runes is like incredible already. Getting a 12 runes is the hard part. I could see this being in like a Nasus deck where you're ready 2 runes already as soon as you empower it. It's definitely a better late game card than it is early game, but again, 3 energy for 3 might unit early game isn't bad at all. And the payoff late game could actually come in handy if you're dwindling on cards, maybe, or you just don't have that many plays. You have a little bit of extra runes up. Really, really a not bad card. I could see it seeing some play in competitive. Yeah. Next up, we have a champion unit. Body, 6 energy for 6 might, which isn't bad. It's actually pretty standard. And then it's Gangplank, naval. Empower is 2 body runes. And then while empowered, if a spell or ability that chooses me would stun me, give me -might, or return me to hand, give me +3 instead. And it was actually errata that it is for this turn only. It's not permanent. But things like Starcross don't hit it. Mel just gets torched by it. Things that stun like Leona or Vex maybe. Really, this card does do pretty well against those decks. I could see this as a sideboard card. I could see this in main deck if you're running Starcross with like Misfortune maybe as your legend, or anything along those lines. Yeah, this card is actually pretty tricky. It's pretty tricky to get a good read on it, but I think it could see some competitive play in the right decks if you play around it. Yeah, we'll see how it does. Next up, we have a really interesting card. It's a gear. Always happy to see some gear. 2 energy for a gear with it's called Glowstone. It has empower 2 for 2 power. It says disempower this and exhaust it. Choose a player that gain control of this and recall it. At the end of your turn, kill this and deal 5 to all units you control. So essentially, if they want to pay the runes, then the other person gets it. And it's really good at slowing the whole game down, essentially. You do kill it if you don't pay the runes. Um, so basically, you have to empower this the turn you play it, or it immediately dies. Um, so it's essentially 2 energy, 2 power to get this rolling. It enters ready, so you have to immediately disempower it and give it to your opponent. And in order for them to save their board, essentially they have to empower it by tapping or recycling 2 runes. And then if they don't want their board to die, essentially, or most of them, then they have to disempower and give it to their opponent. And in a control matchup, like this is a really good way to slow down the game. It will pretty much wipe the board of an aggressive deck because most of them have like pretty low might. Um, I could see this being getting some play in maybe Victor or Lux or something like that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, overall, this is a very interesting card. Definitely going to see it in control, I think. It's a gear, so it's like relatively difficult to remove. Slows down the game, and if you're playing a deck where at the end of the turn it doesn't affect you that much, you're not playing too many units, or they have greater than 5 might, then this could definitely be an addition into your deck. Yeah, I think this is definitely going to see some competitive play in certain decks. Okay, next up we have another very interesting card, sort of like the wolf we had earlier. Grumpy Rock Bear. 4 energy for 4 might. It's in blue. It has Empower 12, and it says this ability costs 1 less for each rune you control. And while it empowered, I have Deflect and Shield 3. So Shield 3 is definitely huge if you're trying to hold at all. Yeah, I think this unit could definitely see some play in maybe like a Nasus deck or something. The other one that had the Empower 12 with ability cost 1 less for each rune control was also in green. So Nasus can take advantage of both of these. They're pretty good early on if you're going second. if you're going first and it's your second turn, you can play this for 4 energy. Um, pretty solid unit actually in a Nasus deck because the Empower makes you ready 2 runes if you're playing Nasus, so you just exhaust it and you ready 2 runes immediately. Pretty interesting card. I think it's definitely going to see some play in the right deck. Yeah, we'll see how it does. Uh, Next card we have is Calm Gear. For 2 energy, it's called Hand Hammer. It's for 1 power equip. It says I have 2 might while I'm at a battlefield with exactly 1 other unit. Otherwise, I have +1 might. So you get +3 might if it's at the battlefield with another unit. If this was a 1 energy unit or 1 energy gear, I would definitely say it gets play. But because it's 2, I am not exactly sure. Maybe in a Shen deck, the niche Shen deck, you might be able to see this getting played if your strategy is to have exactly 1 other unit on the battlefield. Um, Otherwise, I think this is a pretty not very good card. But you never know. We'll see how it plays out. Next up, we have another battlefield. It's Hey Show Shell of the World. It says players ignore deflect while paying for spells and abilities, choosing something here. So can't really see this getting play. It'd be more of like a counter battlefield to like something with a deck that has a lot of deflect, which you can't really do. I mean, you're just stuck to 3 for the whole tournament. Don't really think this is going to see much play, but you never know if the deck is struggling in some sort of deck with deflect or a set of decks with deflect, then you might see this. But it's a pretty neutral battlefield, I think, in my opinion. Yeah. Next up, we have a really interesting card here. 4 energy, 1 calm power for a gear. It's called Helm of Suppression. It says empower for 4 energy, 1 green power. It says opponent's spells cost 1 more. If this is empowered, then they cost 1 energy and 1 power more instead. This is a very interesting card. I think you could definitely see this in main deck and maybe some Oran decks or something like that as just a slowdown type of spell to try to gain some advantage. It could be also a sideboard card against spell heavy decks if you're running green. Definitely a very interesting card. It has a big cost. It'd be 8 energy and 2 green power in order to get this thing actually rolling with so their spells cost more. And it kind of is slow. It's very slow, but if they're running a spell heavy deck or if you want to win more combats and they're spell heavy deck, then this is definitely something that you could look into. But yeah, very interesting card. We'll see how it plays out. Here we have a Jace card called Hex Tech Disc. It's a body card, 4 energy, 1 power. It says empower to tap it, and it says disempower this, pay 1 energy, and tap it again. Play a 3 mech unit token to your base. So basically, with Jace, this costs 2 energy to play a 3 mech unit, which is net positive as far as if it was a 2 energy to play a 2 might unit, then there wouldn't be much point in running it. But because it's a 3 might mech unit, I think this could actually see some play in some Jace decks. Could definitely get you ahead if you're running Jace. Otherwise, I can't really see it being played too much. Like in a regular deck, it doesn't do too much. But Jace is definitely going to see some play with this. Okay, next we got a pretty average card. I mean, 6 energy, 6 might, Horns of the Dragon. It has tank. I mean, that's it. That's the card. Can't really see this seeing much play. Pretty average card, yeah. Uh, Next up, we have an interesting card. Fairly interesting. It's a dog. It's a 4 energy, 4 might unit. It says for 1 yellow power, ready me and give me +1 this turn. Use only if you've chosen an enemy unit this turn and only once each turn. So really not that bad. I mean, 1 power to ready it is like pretty interesting. Once a turn only, but yeah, I could see some play, maybe Ivern or something. It's a decent dog. Like, it's really not that bad. Okay, next we have another interesting spell. It's blue. It's for 4 energy. It says play a 3 mech unit token with flow for 2 energy and 1 power. You can do the same thing. Um, Pretty average card, really. 4 energy for a 3 mech unit, or 6 energy and 1 power for 2 3 mech units. Really not that incredible. I can't really see this seeing much play unless you're doing a mech deck or something, but yeah. Here we have a little bit of Ambessa support, I'm pretty sure that's how it would work. It's a KO, justified as a champion unit. For 3 energy, you get 3 might, which is already pretty decent. It says empower 3. It says I can be empowered up to 3 times. I have +2 might for each time I'm empowered. And while I'm empowered 3 times, I have deflect 3 and ganking. So it helps a little bit when you empower it 3 times. Every time you empower it with Ambessa, you get to ready a unit, because that's just the Ambessa legend. When something is empowered, you get to empower Ambessa and disempower to ready a unit. Yeah, so basically when you play the Kale, you can ready a unit 3 times for 3 energy each time. Really not bad, and it's giving +2 might every turn with just Kale's innate ability. I think this could definitely see some play in some Ambessa decks. It could be a staple in Ambessa, really, because she is a bit of an aggressive deck with and likes champions with Empower to get her legend ability off. Um, yeah, definitely going to see some play in Ambessa at least. Here we have a slightly interesting card. 5 energy, 1 power for 5 might. It's called Keeper of Law. It does like cost 2 energy and 1 power less if you control a battlefield with exactly 2 units there. So it's a bit of a Shen card. Not quite sure how good this is going to be. Maybe if you have a Rek'Sai deck and you have a couple extra recruits, you could get this down for 2 3 energy. Which isn't bad for 5 might. But other than that, I can't really see this being too interesting. Maybe Victor, where you're having 2 recruits at a specific battlefield to get this effect off. Can't. Otherwise, it's like really bad. 5 energy, 1 power for 5 might is terrible. So it's pretty much you have to get the ability off, or this card is like really bad. So yeah, we'll see how it plays out. Next up, we have a champion unit, Kennen, Keeper of Balance. 3 energy for 2 might, and it has hidden. It says, when you play me or I attack, you may pay 2 energy to stun a unit. While there's a stunned enemy unit here, I have +2 might. So this card is pretty interesting. Could be it's yellow, so you can see it in Leona for stun decks. Pretty interesting. If it was purple, I think Vex would see it a lot. Yeah, it's not purple though. It's yellow, but it's not a bad card really. For hidden to stun a unit is and have it get +2 is pretty interesting. Um, Other than that, I can't really see this seeing too much play. I think the purple cannon is better with giving things flow, but yeah, we'll see how it plays out. Next up, we have a really interesting card. It's a unit called Karox. 6 energy for 5 might, which isn't great, but it has a lot of text. It says it has empower for 6 energy and 2 purple runes. It says when I become empowered, choose an opponent. They burn 3, then you may do this. Choose a unit in the trash and play it, ignoring its cost. So ignoring the cost completely, which is incredibly good against Aurora decks in general. They get a dragon in the bin in the trash, then you just play this, empower it, and immediately you have a dragon, elder dragon. Um, it's really not that bad of a card. I think it's a little bit expensive, but if you hit a big enough unit, it'll be worth it, like a Baron or Elder Dragon or something with, like, I don't know, at least 8 might in the trash is probably what you want to shoot for this to be actually like valuable, to be efficient. Um, Pretty interesting card though. It's a bit of a counter to the uh, the decks that utilize the trash for cards with like flow and especially Zed, purple Zed. Just in general Zed, I suppose, where he's trying to banish units from his trash. Instead, you can just pull it to your battlefield. Pretty interesting card. Very interesting. I'm glad we have it in the Vendetta. So there's a little bit of counterplay to the trash play. Next up, we have another battlefield. This one is actually really good for Shen. It's called Kinku Temple. It says units here with tank have +1. So immediately Shen can give anything +1 and tank, which this battlefield is really good for that. pretty much going to only see play in Shen, where it can give a tank, or if you have a tank deck for whatever reason, this would be a decent card for it. But yeah, this makes Shen a lot better with this particular battlefield. Too bad you can't use it every time, but yeah, this is definitely a Shen battlefield. Next up, we got an interesting card. It's called Lacerate. 2 energy and 1 yellow power. It says choose a unit. If it's empowered, disempower it. Then kill it if it has 3 might or less, and it has flow for 4 energy and 2 yellow power. Honestly, this isn't even that great. It's interesting to disempower things. I guess you're looking at Nasus. You want to disempower the Nasus, or if you just want to kill a unit with 3 might or less, you can do it in the base, you can do it on the battlefield, and then it has flow. So if you're in a pinch, you can use this. Really not the greatest card because you have to hit something with 3 might or less, so you're not going to get too much value for it. But yeah, I mean, Lacerate. It is what it is. Here we have a card with a little bit of text. It's a yellow unit with 4 energy, 4 might. It says you may pay a yellow power as an additional cost to play me. If the additional cost was paid, stun an enemy unit at a battlefield. I think Vi is just in general better than this because you get a 5 might unit for 1 extra energy and power, and yeah, and it just stuns whenever it attacks. So if it lives, you get to stun another thing rather than just having this the one time thing. It's an interesting card though, for sure. If you can find a way to like bounce it back to your hand somehow, or something along those lines to keep stunning units, that would be interesting. Maybe with Cannon and Pack of Wonders. But yeah, interesting card for sure. The stun decks are getting some love here. Here's an interesting card that just came out, I think today, July 16th. It's called Mask Mother. For 3 energy, you get a 3 might unit. It says when you discard me, you may pay 1 energy to give a friendly unit +2 this turn. This is an interesting card. Maybe you could see it in Zed when it's empowered, or when you discard with it. The Zed Legend, I mean. Really an interesting card. You could see it with maybe Ezreal to discard cards, maybe Lunar Boon to discard some cards. It is interesting though. I mean, it gives you some sort of value for discarding cards. Yeah, so definitely would you see some play in a discard deck where you're discarding cards from your own hand. Other than that, I mean, 3 energy for a 3 might unit is pretty average, pretty good though. But yeah. Here we have another champion unit, Morgana Vindictive. 5 energy and 1 power for a 5 might unit. It has Ambush. It says when you play me, deal damage to a unit equal to the damage marked on it. Right now this card is pretty terrible unless you like I don't know, Void Seek or something, and then play this to double the damage, kill it, and then while you're ambushing another side of the battlefield. I really don't know when this would see play. There's not too many cards that deal damage, anyways, other than like cards in red. So we'll see what other color Morgana gets if she's getting a legend at all. But yeah, I mean it's an interesting card if you're playing I don't know, Void Seeker or anything that does damage. Falling Star, maybe you could do 3 to 1 unit on the battlefield, and then 1 in the base to kill something. But yeah, other than that, I can't really see this seeing much play. Here we have an interesting card, a Mournful Witness. It's a 2-drop for 2 might. It says when a combat that I was in ends, empower me. So this is obviously an Akali card. And it says while I'm empowered, I have +2 might. So basically, you just go in and to a combat showdown. So he has to have a unit there, and then you just activate Akali, and it comes back, and it's a 4 might unit. So pretty interesting. I don't know if it'll probably see some play in particular decks, like probably only Akali, because it has the action speed moved a unit back to base. But yeah, interesting card for Akali. I think it could definitely see some play in that type of deck. Here we have another battlefield. It's called Mystic Vortex. It says during showdowns here, cards with reaction cost 1 power more to play. Hidden cards have reaction, so it's good against hidden decks. Obviously, this is Teemo Hate. but I can't really see this deck getting too much play. It's a pretty neutral battlefield if you on your end, or if you have trouble against maybe control or something, and they have a lot of reaction spells, and they cost one more energy or one more power. I mean, but it's only during showdown, so I can't really see it doing too much. Maybe good against Aurelia, but I mean, it's not, you can't sideboard in Battlefield, so I can't really see this getting too much play. Here we have another Nasus, blue Nasus, Guardian of Knowledge. For 5 energy, 1 power, you get a 6 might unit, which is pretty okay. And it says once each turn, when an enemy unit here dies, channel 1 rune exhausted. I think this is pretty good. I mean, immediately you go in with this guy and kill something, and you get 1 rune exhausted. Pretty good in Nasus, particularly because you want to ramp up as much as possible to get those 7 drops down. Um, yeah, definitely going to see some play in a Nasus deck, I believe. Other than that, I can't really see it getting too much play outside of Nasus. Yeah, I honestly don't think it's going to see too much play outside of Nasus, but definitely good in Nasus. Here we have another interesting unit. Uh, a 2 drop unit, 2 energy for a 1 might, which is never good to see. But it says, when I conquer, you may kill a gear with energy cost no more than my might. So it's pretty interesting against like seals, maybe a sideboard against seals. Be interesting sideboarding in a 2 drop, but um, yeah, definitely interesting card. Kills small gear, I guess. But I mean, there's not many gear unless you could pump it up, I suppose, and then kill something with bigger energy cost. If you're running maybe punch first or something, that would be, you could kill a bigger gear and conquer a battlefield, which really isn't bad. This might see some play. It's more of a sideboard card against gear, I think, but other than that, yeah, pretty okay card. Here we have a really interesting card, probably for a Renekton deck. It's a 4 energy, 4 might unit called Oasis Rider. If you control fewer runes than your opponent at the start of your beginning phase, so before you channel, give me +2 might and ganking this turn. So 4 drop for 6 might is pretty good if you're going first, and your opponent just naturally has more energy than you, more runes up. And if you're in a Renekton deck, then you're probably going to be recycling a lot of runes, so you're probably going to get this going here pretty quick. Um, it is actually a pretty interesting card. Four drop for 6 might is pretty good with ganking. I could definitely see this being played in Renekton, maybe even other decks as well, but definitely going to see some play in Renekton. Here we have a cool card. It's a buff. It's called Onslaught. For 4 energy, it says give a unit +6 this turn with flow 4. So same as its original cost. So basically, for 8 energy, you could give a unit +12 this turn, which is a pretty huge swing for like a final push to try to get that 8th point. Um, Pretty interesting card. It's not action or reaction speed, so I can't really see it getting too much play, but it's definitely good on offense. If you're trying to just push in on a battlefield and get the huge might takeovers there on each battlefield and conquering. Um, it's good to just, it's actually not that bad because of the flow. If it didn't have flow, this would be like almost unplayable because of other cards that are just as good. Like Punch First is just better. But because it has flow, I could definitely see this seeing some play in some body decks. Here we have another 2 drop. It's in blue. 2 energy for 2 might. It says if a player would score 1 point from conquering or holding during their first or second turn, they draw 1 instead. So this would drag out the games a little bit. Probably not going to see too many points getting conquered on the first turn while you have this. I mean, obviously you want to play this very first turn one when you have 2 runes up, and then your opponent can't do like a sprite fountain and conquer or something like that. They just draw 1 instead. I can't really see this getting too much play unless you're playing like control or something. Um, yeah, and you'd have to be playing against an aggressive deck also to get the conquers on turn 1 or 2. Probably most of the time you're probably going to see it happen on turn 2 that they would draw 1 instead. Um, but yeah, probably not going to see that much play. I don't think. Here we have an interesting card, Paka Protector. 5 energy for a 4 might unit. But it says when I move, reveal the top card of your main deck. If it's a unit, draw it. Otherwise, put it in your trash. Will give you +2 this turn. So whenever you're attacking, it is usually a 6 might unit, I would imagine, unless you're running just a ton of units. Yeah, pretty much only going to see play in a unit deck, I would imagine. So you draw the card every time. Um, Even then, though, I think Stellacorn just might be better than this because it's 5 energy, whereas Stellacorn's 4, and for 1 less might. But the +2, if you want things in your trash, this might see some play if you have a green deck that wants to see things in your trash. But other than that, I can't really see this getting too much play. It is a catch for Ivern, maybe, so that is something to take note of. But yeah. Here's a really cool card. I think could see some play in maybe like a pike deck. We'll go through it here. It's 3 energy for a gear called Pendulum Blade. Equip cost of 1 red. It says when I move to a battlefield, give me +2 this turn, and it regularly has +1. So it'd be a +3 whenever you're conquering. Essentially, I could see this in a pike or a Kali deck where you're pushing in a unit, maybe bringing it back and readying it, then going in again. So you have +4 with a Kali, or you're just equipping this to a unit going in with Pike, and it's 3 energy for 3 might, and it's kind of continuous because it stays on the battlefield after you bounce it. But yeah, I could definitely see this in a Pike deck for maybe a cheaper Blighted Battle Axe. Kind of like a mini Blighted Battle Axe, but the only thing is it's not so good when you're trying to hold. So we'll see if this actually gets some play in any pike decks, which is I'm kind of excited about. I'll definitely try it out in some pike decks and get some gameplay up here. But yeah, definitely an interesting card in red. Definitely more of an aggressive card style, unless you're playing a Kali where you're just going into battlefields constantly in and out. But yeah, pretty cool card. Here's a really cool card. I guess it has some pretty similar effects to the Legend of Runeterra version. It's called Plaza Guardian. 10 energy for 8 might, which isn't good, but it says I cost 1 less for each gear you control, and it has deflect. So if you have 5 gear, and it's a 5 energy 8 might unit, which is very good. This could definitely see some play in some gear heavy decks. Actually, I think it will see some play in some gear heavy decks. Hopefully Thermal Beam isn't as prominent as a card as it used to be, but I think with the gear support and Jace and the Ornn support and stuff like that, I think the gear hate is going to be real. Really only counter is Thermal Beam. Otherwise, you're getting a pretty big unit for hopefully 3 or 4 less energy than what it says on the card. But this is a very interesting card. Very good top end for some gear decks. Here we have a interesting battlefield. It's called Protective Sands. It says when you conquer here, if you control 4 or fewer runes, you may pay 1 to draw 1. Pay 1 energy to draw 1. This is definitely going to see some play in a Renekton deck where the whole theme is having 4 or fewer runes. Not sure how much play it's going to see outside of that, because I guess if you're behind, then it would maybe be good if your deck normally comes back from behind. But other than that, outside of Renekton, I can't see it seeing too much play. But Renekton does have some pretty cool support here from the Vendetta set, so we'll see how this battlefield plays out in a Renekton deck. Here we have a pretty interesting card. It's a red gear for 4 energy and 1 power. It's called Rage Amplifier. It has Empower for 6 energy and 1 power. And it says your units have 1 might, but if I'm empowered, they have +2 instead. So obviously you want some swarm strategy with this, where your recruits are getting +1 or +2 might. Otherwise, it's not going to have that much value in the deck, especially if you're trying to empower it. But this could see some play, maybe like Rek'Sai. That's the only deck that really comes to mind. Maybe other decks with like a lot of smaller units, so you get that value. Kind of synergizes with Trifarian War Camp, where you're getting +2 minimum for each card, for each unit here. Yeah, but a pretty interesting card though, nonetheless. Here we have a pretty interesting card called Rampage. 3 energy spell in the body. It says, as you play this, you may pay 1 body energy, recycle 1 body energy as an additional cost. Choose a friendly unit and an enemy unit. If you paid the additional cost, give the friendly unit +2 this turn, and then they deal damage equal to their -2 to other. So it's basically a challenge for one extra energy, except for you can give an additional +2 might. I think this card will definitely see some play, as it can kill units that with greater might than the challenge normally would be able to, and it only costs one energy more. Definitely an interesting card. And if you're giving it +2, you can also conquer with that unit this turn. I think this card is actually pretty good, and it will definitely see some play. This is another interesting card here. It's called Raven Bloom Prefect. For 3 energy, you get a 3 might unit, which is already decent stats in the chaos. It says when an opponent plays a gear, you may banish me to banish it. So very interesting card, super good against gear hate. They can't play any gear that they actually want to play until you remove this. And if you're hitting a gear with more than 3 energy, then it's a net positive on your end of like comparison between energy costs. Um, Definitely an Aurora hate card. More, it's probably more of a sideboard card, but you never know. You might see this in the main deck of maybe like Diana or something, but I doubt it. But you probably might be able to if they really are looking for that gear hate. Okay, here we have probably one of the most broken cards in the game right now. It's a Mel signature spell for 1 power and 1 energy. It's called Rebuttal. It's a reaction. It says choose a spell with energy no more than 4. You may pay 1 power. If you do, gain control of it and you make new choices for it. Otherwise, counter it. So automatically, it's a 1 mana counter spell. 1 energy, 1 power counter spell for anything 4 or less. Doesn't matter how many power it costs, so it's better than Defy. And if you pay 1 extra power, you get to take control of it and make new choices. So if they play Discipline and you're about to lose something, or Punch First would just be devastating here. I mean, they play Punch First, you do Rebuttal, and you immediately get +5 on your unit, and they get nothing, and it's countered. I mean, just a crazy card. Definitely gonna put Mel on the map. I think if Mel did not have this card, then I think Mel wouldn't see play at all, pretty much, almost exclusively zero Mel play. But this card is just so busted. It makes Mel a very viable legend to play. Here's an interesting card for maybe like Rek'Sai, I'm thinking, but it's 4 energy, 1 power for a 3 might unit, which isn't good, but it says when you play another unit, give me +2 this turn. So I'm thinking you play, I don't know, that card with Legion, 3 energy, 1 power unit that plays 2 recruits to your base if you have Legion, and you just get +6 might on the turn, which turns into a 9 might unit, which obviously is very good on offense, not so much on defense, unless you have some hidden cards or something. But overall, definitely an interesting card. Yeah, hidden could definitely give it a +2 might. Um, just playing a lot of like Victor within a recruit every turn could give this +2 might every turn, which isn't bad. Really not a bad card, and can definitely see some play in some more swarmish type of strategies. Here we have another champion unit. Interesting one. It's Renekton Brute. It's a 5 energy unit for 4 might, which isn't good, but it does have some pretty interesting text. It says for 1 energy, and you can do this multiple times, give me +1 this turn. So you pay 6 energy and it's a 10 might unit. It says when my might becomes 10 or more, empower me. And while empowered, I have deflect and ganking. So you only have to get it empowered or get it over 10 might once, and it is empowered. So punch first for you pay the 1 energy, go into a battlefield, punch first, and it's already a 10 might unit with deflect and ganking. Which is pretty interesting, even though it goes back down in the next turn, but having deflect and ganking just makes this unit a little bit more efficient as far as it goes. It doesn't have too much synergy with the 4 runes or less on your field, but it is a pretty interesting card and could definitely see some play in some other decks outside of Renekton. But yeah, pretty interesting card for sure. Here we have a very interesting card. I wish this was in blue or green, but it's 3 energy for a 3 might unit called Repair Specialist. It says, I have assault equal to the number of gear you control. So yeah, this is definitely going to be seen in gear decks. Probably, I'm assuming Jace is the only deck that would be really playing this card, but it could definitely become pretty out of hand depending on how many gears you have. Definitely going to see some play in Jace. I mean, I feel like it's almost a staple in Jace, to be honest. But yeah, definitely going to see some play. Here we have an interesting card. It's a little Lee Sin in the art there. Gotta love Lee Sin. It's a 2 energy, 1 power card with hidden and reaction. It says choose a battlefield you control and a unit you control at a different location. Move that unit to that battlefield and give it +2 this turn. So the fact that it has hidden is really interesting. It's basically like a tide turner. I'm not as good because you can't play it to your base and have another unit come back and switch it, but you can get another unit to the battlefield, um, and and keep all your units there without moving the tide. With for as an example, have a tide turner, but it has reaction, which is pretty interesting. So keep that in mind. Definitely for sure, keep that in mind. I can't really see this to getting much play. The +2 might really help the card's playability, but maybe a one or two of, I suppose, in I don't know, Azir maybe. Really, I can't really, or like a deck that wants to move around a lot. Maybe a Kali. Um, yeah, it's an interesting card for sure. We'll see how it plays out, but I think hidden really makes this card a lot more playable. Here we have a very interesting card. Big boy, 7 energy for and 2 power for an 8 might unit. It says while I'm at a battlefield, players only channel 1 rune at the start of their channel phase. So this really slows the game down. Definitely good if you're already ahead. Or if this is in a Nasus deck, you have blue Nasus where things are dying at battlefields and you're already channeling runes exhausted. It's a 7 energy unit, so you automatically ready 2 units with Nasus. I think this is uh, more of a Nasus card, but definitely good in any green, maybe control deck where you really want to slow down the game. And you're already ahead, and you can just hold battlefields for basically for the win until the end of the game. Um, but yeah, definitely an interesting card. The cost is pretty heavy for an 8 might unit, but it is a very interesting card for sure. Here we have an interesting card, 5 energy for a 5 might unit called Shadow Assassin. I enter ready if you have a card with my name in your trash. Pretty interesting. Obviously, you want to have 3 of these in the deck that you're trying to get this effect to go off in. Probably more of a Zed shell, I would imagine. Or like some sort of burn strategy where you're burning all your cards. Otherwise, this card is pretty terrible. 5 energy for 5 mites really not that bad, but you need a second one in the trash in order to actually make this card good. Here we have a similar card to the one that we just covered. Shadow Cloaked Lurker. 5 energy, 5 might, and it says I cost 2 less for each card with my name in your trash. Um, and again, this card you're gonna need 3 of in the deck that you want this to actually pop off in. If 2 is in your trash, then it's a 1 energy, 5 might unit, which is really good. But I mean, the chances of that happening is pretty slim. Um, this probably won't see play unless it's in a burn deck specifically. So yeah, yeah. Here we have a signature spell called Shadow Dash. It's Shen's signature spell. 2 energy, 1 power. It says move an enemy unit to a battlefield where you have units. If you have exactly 2 units there, they each get +1 this turn, +1 might, and it has flow for 5 and 2 energy. Or 2 power, I mean, 5 energy, 2 power. Really, I was expecting more from the Shen sort of side of things. Zed is just gonna outperform it in pretty much every way. I can't imagine the Shen deck being too good. This is obviously a pretty decent card, but you need to have 2 units at a battlefield, which is going to take some time. It's going to be very slow. I mean, Charm pretty much does the same thing with 1 energy less. Uh, I mean, yeah, it can't. This is a little bit worse. I think is one than what I was expecting. But yeah, and here we have a Shen Legend. Um, really underwhelming. This is the signature version of it. His armpits are just flying out, completely shaved. You know, whatever, whatever you want to take with that. It says as his ability is action, exhaust me and give a friendly unit tank this turn. Really, kind of an underwhelming card. Can't really see this seeing too much play other than to chase the best of at a regional or something like that. Um, but yeah, armpits out. Here we have NASA's signature spell. For 4 energy, it's called Siphoning Strike. It says deal 4 to a unit at a battlefield. If you control 7 or more runes, deal 7 to it instead. When it dies this turn, channel 1 rune exhausted. So if you have 7 runes, it does 7. Anything less than that, then it does 4. But regardless, when it dies, you get to channel 1 rune exhausted. This card is not bad at all. I could see this definitely being a part of Nasus decks. Yeah, pretty decent removal. Better late game, obviously, and then late game scales with the size of their units, and so does this card. So I could definitely see this getting some play in some Nasus decks. Here's a pretty interesting card that came out recently. 4 energy for 1 power for a 3 might unit, which is pretty terrible, but it has this ability. It's called Sky Cruiser. It says discard a gear for 1 energy and tap it to deal 4 to a unit at a battlefield. I mean, obviously you'd have to play this in a gear deck, but if you're discarding gear, every turn, or just have this in your base and you can just kill a unit pretty much on demand for 1 energy and discard a card. Pretty interesting ability, to be honest. I think this could definitely see some play in a sideboard in a gear heavy deck against like an aggro strategy or pretty much any strategy that has units that are 4 might or less. Definitely an interesting card. I love to see these gear type of cards in Vendetta. It's very interesting. The stats on it are bad as its only downfall, but definitely a very interesting card to keep in your base. Here we have a cool card. 3 energy for 1 might, which is terrible, but it has hidden and says, I have +1 might for each other unit you control here with my name. Your deck can have any number of cards named Spiderling. So obviously Teemo could take advantage of this. You're just hiding 2 of them at a time. I mean, you're just loading up your battlefields with these little spiderlings, and if you have 3 of them, they have 3 might each. 4 of them, they have 4 might each. It's pretty interesting. Can't really get to see this seeing much play other than maybe like a Teemo deck where you're just hiding them all the time for 1 energy. But yeah, it's an interesting card for sure. Maybe some decks will be built around it, but I can't really see this getting too much play of just based on how weak it is might wise. Here is an interesting card. 5 energy for 4 might, and it says spells with flow you play from your trash cost 2 less to a minimum of 1. I think this is definitely going to see some play in some Kennen decks where you're giving flow to spells in your trash, and I think it'll pay for itself pretty much as the first card you play with flow. It's automatically pretty much going to pay for itself. So the 5 might or the 5 energy cost is probably not going to be that much of an issue because it's just going to pay for itself like pretty quickly if you're based around a flow deck. I think this card is very interesting though. Definitely going to see some play competitively, I believe. Here's a cool card that came out recently. It's another 1 energy unit, but it has 0 might. It has deflect, and it says empower for 7 energy. And while empowered, I have +7 might. So right off the bat, this seems like a Nasus card where you empower it for 7 energy, and you get to ready to a rune. So it's basically 5 energy, and you get a 7 might unit from it, which is pretty statted. It's a cat, so you might see it in Ivern. It's with Spellsonger, it gets +14 might because of the text box that it has on it. So keep that in mind. I don't know. It's a pretty interesting card. I mean, 1 energy units are always like valued. They're pretty scarce in the games right now, but definitely an interesting card. And it has a good late game as well. I could see it's getting some play for sure. Here's a cool card that I didn't even know was actually coming out in Vendetta, but a champion unit from Swain. It's a 6 energy, 1 power unit for 6 might. It has vision, which is basically predict. And it says, when I conquer, if you've played a non token unit, a non token gear, and a spell this turn, you score 1 point. So, right off the bat, this card doesn't seem that good. But if you're later in the game and you have the unit gear Poro and a small, expensive, inexpensive spell, that I mean you can get this to pop off and get your 7th and 8th point pretty quickly. I think he would have to occupy both battlefields for you to not get this, and a 6 month unit hitting either battlefield for a conquer later in the game is like pretty common. But you have to do this before you conquer, so there is a little bit of counterplay to it. Um, so he knows exactly what you're gonna do before you do it, so he could bounce it or something. But overall, it's not that bad of a card. It could definitely see some play. You'd have to have some gears in your deck. Obviously, units and spells are pretty common in decks, but you have to have some gear in your deck as well. If not just that Poro and a couple seals would probably help. But yeah, this card is overall not that bad. Um, it's really not that bad. I think it'll definitely see not maybe not see some play right now, but it could definitely see some play once Swain comes in and we get to see his particular skill set. Um, but yeah, pretty interesting card nonetheless. Here you have a pretty cool card. I'm kind of excited about. It's a 4 energy for 4 might unit, which is already pretty decent stats, but it has empower for 2 energy and 1 purple rune. It says, when I become empowered, you may choose a unit in your trash with energy no more than 3 and power cost no more than 1. Play it to your base, ignoring its cost. So immediately, this is really good with Fizz. You immediately get play this and empower it, and you get Fizz with any spell with 3 energy or less and 1 power or less from your trash. You can get key units that you have out of your trash. Overall, I think this is a very, very interesting and good card, and we'll definitely see some play in competitive. Here we have a pretty interesting card, Temporal Breach. 2 energy, 1 power, 1 blue power, and it has hidden. It says banish a unit, then its owner plays it to the same location, ignoring its cost. I think this card is very tricky. It has a lot of different applications. Um, it's immediately gets rid of any sort of removal, or most removal, I should say. Um, any sort of enter the battlefield type effects, you just re-get it. It's a pretty interesting card. It gets rid of empowered. Very interesting card. I think this will definitely see some play competitively, and in some niche decks, it's definitely going to be one of the best cards. Here we have another gear, 4 energy gear. It's Tools of Empire. Um, for empower for 2 energy, and it says give a tap and give a unit +2 might this turn. If it's empowered, give that unit +4 instead. So it's a little bit of a slow card, but I think if you get this down on turn 2, it could definitely pay off in the end. With Jace, you can give 2 units +4 or the same unit +8. Um, Definitely an interesting card. Definitely pops off a little bit more in Jace rather than most other decks, because you can just re-ready it and essentially get the effect off twice. Outside of Jace, I can't really see this card getting that much play. Maybe a little bit. We'll see how it plays out though. In the meta, it's overall an average card, I think, for its cost and everything, but interesting nonetheless. Here we have a really cool card. It's Twilight Reveler for 3 energy and 3 might for 3 might. It says when I attack, ready another friendly unit. Definitely could see some applications in Akali, where you're attacking and then you can ready another unit and then use Akali's action to bring it back. So you can ready pretty much any unit you want. for just the cost of Akali's power. Um, yeah, pretty interesting. You could even attack with this, and if Akali's empowered, re-ready it and come back and then go in again. So you can ready two units in the same turn, just with Akali's ability. I think this card is definitely going to see some play. It's very interesting, decent stats, and it has a very interesting ability for sure. Definitely going to see some play. Here we have another movement ability, Twilight Step, 2 energy, 1 power, and chaos. It says move a unit with 3 might or less, and it has flow for 4 energy and 1 power. You can do it again. I can't see this card getting too much play. I mean, if it was move any unit or like some sort of 5 or less, maybe might, then it could see a lot more play. But the fact that it's 3 might or less, I mean, those are like lower impactful cards, so it's gonna have a lower impact in general, I think, on the battlefield. Um, I mean, Ride the Wind is just like kind of better. I think you get to move it and ready it, and it has action speed. Um, yeah, I'm not sure how well this card is gonna see any play. It's an overall maybe like slightly below average card, I would say, but yeah. Here we have an interesting card. Kind of synergizes well with Alawi. 3 energy, up from the deep. It says play 1 might tentacle unit tokens from Bilgewater, and it has flow for 3 energy. Um, if it wasn't for Alawi, this card would be unplayable. Um, 3 energy for 1 might units is just really bad. But yeah, with Alawi, this makes it a little bit more playable. We'll see if an Alawi legend comes out in the next set. That's all for today, boys. We went through a ton of cards today, probably like 60 cards or so. Really kind of slacked off on the YouTube, but we're going to come back even stronger with the next week of Vendetta spoilers, and I hope you stay tuned to watch it.